Game 2 of World Elite versus Team Legion. Team Legion taking Game 1 in commanding fashion, particularly Wild Tortoise on that rise. Cannot wait to see what we're going to be seeing in this Game 2.
The end of that game was just ridiculous, and I still can't get over it. Like, it was such just, you don't see those type of endings in competitive League of Legends matches, and we should talk about Wild Tortoise as we're doing this champion select, because that guy just beat Messiah in lane.
He did.
And there's some significance to this, because I talk to players like Skara or anyone on COG or anyone who's played against World Elite, and they rave about how good Messiah is. If it's ever, oh, Messiah beat me by this much CS, or Messiah carried them this hard, and he's a legendary player in China, and I probably should know, but I don't know who Wild Tortoise is, and he just beat Messiah.
That's exactly who he is. He is the guy who just beat Messiah, and we'll have to see what he's going to be rolling out. Messiah actually was ahead of him. He had more minion kills, but Wild Tortoise was just an absolute beast, 1v5ing the enemy team and picking up a double kill. Looking at picks and bans really quick, World Elite banning out Malphite, Maokai, and Nocturne, and LGN responding with Shen, Twisted Fate, and Alistar. World Elite first picking Vladimir, and LGN responding with the Ezreal Nunu picks. YGTM, on the other hand, maybe looking for another jungle Skarner. He was pretty strong on the jungle Skarner in Game 1.
They seem fairly happy with how that game went, aside from losing. Like, if they're going to
Aside
pick
from
a starter.
losing.
No, they lost due to strategic mistakes. I don't think they lost because of their team composition. I hope that we get to see some more Wild Tortoise on Wild Rise. I was reading some tweets. Scar was just like, he just started building random items on Rise. Apparently it worked. Jumped in for double kills. Natwin said Wild Tortoise too wild. I want to see him on Rise again, because I need to see a sequel to that.
Yeah, there wasn't a Rise ban. I was actually a little surprised that there wasn't a Rise ban from World Elite. They might just give it to him again and see if Messiah can pick something as potential counter. Looks like World Elite going to be going for the Corki pick. Corki, pretty popular.
Yeah. One thing I should point out, though, is that the Ezreal got picked very, very early on, and that's something we're seeing a lot of this tournament, as well as Nunu. They seem to be the prime, almost 1-2 picks. You pick Nunu for support or jungle, mainly support, and you pick Ezreal as your AD carry, and that is what everyone has agreed to do, it seems. They just love the strength of them. So Corki, pretty good pick against Ezreal. They have very similar kits, and you can match up quite well against them. So that should be a good matchup in bottom lane.
Yeah, no surprise with the Ezreal pick. He has been, I believe, I would love to see the stats on how many games have either picked or banned Ezreal. I don't think we've seen that many Ezreal bans.
Many bans.
Certainly a lot of picks, though,
yeah,
and a lot of success as well. Wild Tortoise and Demon Lol. I'm not going to say they're going to go for the Sona, because they might swap it on me, but Sona would certainly be, there's the lock.
Now we can say they went for the Sona.
And they're going for the Sona. And maybe potential jungle Nunu, because they do have the Sona as that support. Yorick top lane could be very strong against an Aurelia if Kaomei decides to go for the Aurelia. I don't want to speak too soon. They do have the Vladimir as well, who could go top lane if they decide to go for that.
Yeah, so they picked the Vladimir very early on. Vladimir is known for being able to go either mid lane or top lane. So when Demon Lol picked the Yorick, they were just leaving themselves open for full counter picks there, and then can, after that counter pick, when they know where Vladimir is going, if that makes any sense. So the Aurelia was picked to beat the Yorick in lane, and whatever gets picked here by Legion will be picked to go up against a Vladimir. So please be Rise. I want to see Rise.
You want to see another Rise. Wild Tortoise putting on a bit of a Rise clinic. Well, a Rise clinic of how to build interesting items and still completely dominate a fight, even when you're the only guy there.
He didn't build super unique items. He had a lot of Magic Pen as well as a lot of mana. I think he had Abyssal Scepter, Sorcerer's Shoes. Of course, he had the Tear of the Goddess very early on. Then he finished Archangel Staff, and he did have another item in there. I'm not entirely sure, but Gragas.
Whoa, nice. Very excited to see the Gragas. In the Curse versus SGS, we saw SGS's mid lane running Gragas. That ultimate can just end a fight and potentially end a game if placed correctly.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Gragas over in Poland as well for that tournament, so he's coming way back into favor as well. That's another potentially really strong pick to go up against Vladimir. The only thing about this is Vladimir can kind of dodge out of all of Gragas' stuff, and it'll be just glorious.
It certainly will be, especially if he's able to get that extra farm as we tick down. Looking at these matchups, who do you like in this game too?
Right now, I do have to give the edge to World Elite. I like their lane swapping. I like their CC, and I think their early roam is going to be able to take over a little bit. When Aurelia jumps around in team fights, it's just I like the way they have global move, just the movement a little bit, even though Legion seems to have gotten really good. And they had the early game win against MTW in the first round, and beating up on World Elite is just really impressive.
We are loading into this Game 2, Team Legion versus World Elite. I'm really liking this matchup, Jat. I think World Elite has so much single target disabling, but you can never count out a Gragas ult. One well-placed Gragas ult, and that could potentially be all that she wrote.
Looking forward to this game. The Gragas versus Messiah matchup will be pretty exciting. I want to pay a bunch of attention to how Wild Tortoise does, because he was just so surprisingly effective in that game, and Legion is a real dark horse in this tournament. They only had 40 circuit points coming into this event, which put them in 9th place, and just because of the teams that are ahead of them, they essentially need to finish 4th or higher just to be able to qualify for the North American Regionals. They got a pretty good start so far.
They certainly did. We don't really know as much about Wild Tortoise, so he could be just as wild on Gragas. You never know. We had Wild Rise, and potentially Game 2, Wild Gragas.
That would be a good one.
I am very excited, but you can never count out Messiah, especially on Vladimir. Vladimir really strong when he gets that farm. So, and I also got to say, I love the jungle Skarner. I'm a huge Skarner fan. I love that ultimate, being able to move around, and it looks like we're going to be getting into this game right now. Here we are, loading it. World Elite versus LGN. Running down the lanes really quick. We talked a little bit too much about that Messiah Wild Tortoise mid lane, so you know it's going to be Messiah on Vladimir versus Wild Tortoise on Gragas top lane. We've got Calme on Aurelia facing off against Cruisers. Yorick in the jungle. YJTM on that jungle Skarner going up against Laudamortis with the jungle Nunu. Really excited about the jungle Nunu. And bottom lane, we have Corki Tarek, WX and IF facing off against Noobish and Demonlol with that Ezreal Sona, second Ezreal Sona in a row for Legion.
I'm thinking Corki Tarek is going to get really, really aggressive down in that bottom lane. Sona's biggest weakness, despite having so much poke, is getting directly aggressed on, and there's no better support for directly diving on them with a guaranteed stun than Tarek, and Corki has one of the highest bursts for AD carries. So that's a very dangerous and volatile lane for LGN.
Actually, sorry, quick correction. I believe it was World Elite who had run the Ezreal Sona for Game 1.
Yeah, it was.
So, quick swap up with Legion taking that, and it'll be great to see what World Elite's going to be able to do with that Corki Terra combination, that stun, being able to allowing Corki to be able to jump in. World Elite, that was a great
look at this though.
ward.
There's 3 top for World Elite here. No, that's for Legion. They'd done this strategy in a previous game this tournament where they had 3 in a lane very early on, and they hide to show for a while, like, Yorick will be farming up here in the top lane, and then they're potentially going to try to 3-man kill Aurelia. This is a really, really aggressive, risky early game play, because if this doesn't work, they lose a whole bunch of experience, especially bottom lane.
Yeah, something we hadn't talked about was that in that game, Legion was using a Leona, so she had that innate stun, and with the Sona, they're not going to have that innate stun. I guess they have the slow as well as a lot of poke coming out early from Demonlol, but an interesting play, and Calme potentially knowing what's going on, a little wary, and there's the face check and the exhaust going down. Will they be able to pick up the first blood? Wow, what a great flash. The Ignite, however, going down. Cruiser is trying to desperately get in range. The Ignite finishes ticking. Calme actually popped a health pot, and looks like Laudamortis coming up to try and finish him off.
Now it's just a matter of clearing assist markers and who's going to end up picking the kill.
Yes, exactly. Calme dashing to Laudamortis. He is staying alive as long as he possibly can, but there is first blood to Laudamortis. Looks like the Legion strategy paid off.
Yeah, that was good play. That's really a huge throwback. We used to see maybe back in beta, 3 or 4 people would wait in a bush in the start of the game just to get that first blood, and it was been ruled out as just something that's not effective. Because they did that, though, bottom lane getting pushed, free experience for Corki and Tarek. Let's see if Yorick's able to come down on that, because he did not get experience for that. All he got was assist gold, so it does put Yorick behind while it does, while putting Aurelia behind as well. It's an interesting trade-off. I think that'll be an advantage of Legion, though.
It certainly could be, and it looks like Legion is also going to be doing a swap as a result of it. We have Ezreal top lane with Sona against that Aurelia, and Yorick, a really great 1v2 champion against that Corki Tarek, but he is getting chunked down pretty hard already. How do you like those 1v2s? Uh-oh, Messiah going extremely low. Will they be able to get him? No, he will survive by the skin of his teeth. He must have had less than 30 HP in that last Ignite tick just not being enough. Great survival play from Messiah. But Wild Tortoise, once again, just beating him up in this mid lane.
Oh, and here we have Skarner. Good hide in that rush. Now he's on to Laudomortis. There's no escaping the Skarner if he decides to stick, but Gragas should be able to come over for rescue. This is going to be really interesting.
Wild Tortoise extremely low, but Laudomortis, yep, just going to be able to back out. It could have potentially been a risky play for Wild Tortoise to jump in and make that a 2v2, but great play from Laudomortis, able to get out of there alive. Bottom lane, Cruiser doing his best to farm despite the aggression from WX and IF. That quirky Taric lane is so aggressive and so strong, and they've already got the tower down to half health.
So yeah, that's 5 minion kills, now 6 for Cruiser versus the 32 of Corki. Conversely, we only have 19 on Demon Lull and top lane on Ezreal to 10 of Aurelius, so the lane swapping actually in the favor of World Elite quite heavily despite that first kill. So it's going to be evening out if the minion kills keep trending this way.
And it looks like Aurelia, she did grab that cloth armor, so Calmay was prepared to take the abuse, so to speak, and it looks like YJTM's spending a little bit of time in that top lane trying to help out Calmay as best he can. But looking at the ward coverage in that top jungle, Calmay using that Q to be able to get some farm. Great ward coverage from Legion to be able to see when YJTM's gonna be making his move. Yeah,
so there's no way for YGMT to actually sneak into that top lane because he can't come through the river and he can't through from the lane. The lane gank is stopped by the fact that they're always constantly pushed so far up. So Aurelia pretty much by herself, completely isolated, and anytime Skarner tries to come in, he's just gonna get shut down.
Yeah, and it looks like he got noticed in that top lane. We see Nubish
yeah, he's just backing away.
Trucking down a little bit.
They're pinging him, though, because they get to see the jungle invade, so potentially Gragas and Nunu can chase in after Nunu and try to clean, after Skarner clean him up, and he is in a world of hurt here. Let's see how he tries to escape this one.
Yeah, that's going to be some serious trouble. Laudomortis is going to be able to land that snowball. There's the belly flop and the exhaust. He's so low. Oh, he misses the flash. Oh, that's serious trouble for YJTM, and there's the belly flop for the kill on Wild Tortoise. However, top lane, Calmay getting the Ignite down onto Demon Lull. Nubish coming in. Will he be too late? Calmay is out of mana and he is ignited and he is so low. Laudomortis and Demon Lull are both blood boiled. Demon Lull just missing it, but there's the snowball flash kill Laudomortis. Jungle Nunu. Too strong.
Legion coming out of the gates really hot here. They had a bit of a disadvantage from those 2v1 lanes CS-wise, but kill-wise and aggression-wise and ward-wise, they're doing some really, really hot and smart plays. Just good doubling up in the top lane and a great collapse down on a Skarner. The warding by Legion, despite the fact that they aren't getting minion kills, is paying dividends.
And there is first turret to Legion. They are up 9,000 gold.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Legion actually, yeah, they did trade turrets real quick. However, Legion having a 1,000 gold lead already as we approach the 7-minute mark there. 3 kills to none. And once again, I'm so impressed with Wild Tortoise's play so far against Messiah, who's really somewhat of a legend in terms of being an AP carry.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this, 45 minion kills on Gragas, 50 on Vladimir. This is pretty close. This is good stuff for them. It's just a matter of Wild Tortoise sticking with Messiah as the rest of Legion wins at this point. Last game was a little more impressive because Ryze was able to take him down, but he's just pretty aggressive, running out his mana. It looks like he's going to be going back to base here. The nice thing about this is once he gets his blue buff, he's going to be able to pretty much free farm. So any minion kill advantage Messiah has now, he's going to be able to, you know, not fall that far behind Wild Tortoise because once Gragas gets blue, he can just free farm.
And it looks like Wild Tortoise is really holding steady. Laudomortis having to walk out of that. They swap the aggro to Nubish, and Legion could potentially pick up this dragon without any opposition.
Looks like they are coming
Speaking
in
of
a bit from the
opposition,
side.
yeah, there could be some serious trouble. WX and IF going in.
Nice, they got
Legion's just going to be able to back out. Uh-oh, Wild Tortoise getting dove by Messiah. The Ignite going down onto Messiah. He is between 2 towers. Laudomortis, will he be able to pick him up? Actually, Wild Tortoise getting credit for that kill. Gotta love those Ignite ticks. Great pressure from Laudomortis. Really aggressive play from Messiah. And looking F and YJTM in a heap of trouble. Unbelievable collapse from Legion. They are playing out of their minds this series.
Just really good team movement. They were able to capitalize on that dive by Messiah so well. YDMT also getting a little bit aggressive. The quick duplication by Cruiser Now it looks like they have 4 members on Dragon. No, sorry, they do have 4 members on Dragon, and they're just crushing this down. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit distracted. There was no York in there whatsoever. I got confused between Nunubot and York, so I, for some reason, thought they duplicated. Really good Dragon's kill there, and a 2,000 gold advantage.
We're not even at the 9-minute mark, and Legion is already starting to pull ahead. They've doubled that gold lead from 1,000 to 2,000, 12,600 gold to World Elites, 10,800 gold. Legion in the lead, pretty not commanding, but for how early it is, they're impressive so far in this series.
5 kills to 1. They get the blue buff down onto Wild Tortoise. Now you see those barrels taking out the entire back wave. He has that needlessly large rod, looking to probably get that death cap fairly early on. And those barrels are going to be hitting pretty hard, especially if they start roaming around a little bit. So far, the only downside I see is the gold is very much onto Nunu, Loudamortis' jungle. So he can't convert that necessarily as well as someone to carry, but it's still going to be really effective for him to just tank up and be able to dive in.
Yeah, Loudamortis doing so well, and speaking of doing well, WX is actually completely destroying Demon Lull in minion kills. He has 83 to Demon Lull's 43. Both of them have a phage, but it looks like WX is going to be building into that Sheen. He has that Mana Crystal. He is at 2,800 gold to, actually only 2,800 gold to the 2,400 for Ezra, so not as much as we thought, but that minion kill, that farm is pretty impressive nonetheless.
So this is World Elite's kind of backup strategy since they've been losing the rest of the map. Corki and Tarek have been free farming down at this bottom lane. They had the lane for the free at the start of the game, as we mentioned. Then they had the 2v1. You're not going to miss any minions during that. And now they're just freezing it, getting all the minions again. So Corki's going to pull substantially far ahead of Demon Lull if it continues this way. And when teamfights come out, if they can protect him and if he can get his damage off, that's going to be World Elite's ways of coming back in this game. Because right now they're losing pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah, World Elite having a little bit of trouble. Speaking of mid lane, great grab from YJTM. Loudamortis is gonna flash out. Fantastic counter ult by Nubish. Exhaust going down onto YJTM. He's gonna flash out, but we could see a dive. Oh, will he be able to land the barrel? Yes, he will, but YJTM getting out with a sliver of health. World Elite are doing their best to be escape artists, and Legion just trying to press that advantage.
Yeah, and this is kind of like last game where it seems World Elite is on their heels the entire time, but the gold is staying very close. I think that's a testament to how well World Elite manages their economy and how well they can get the minion kills. With all that, though, Legion pushing extremely hard, getting now the 2nd turret of the game, and this is impressive play by Legion.
Legion actually, we had talked about this in Game 1 where Legion was really trying to dominate and really making these strong plays, but World Elite holding strong. They were able to keep that gold lead, and it was only in that last hiccup when Ezreal was split pushing bottom lane where they had a bit of trouble and Legion was able to close it out. But right now Legion is doing their best to make no mistake. They are still holding on to that 2,000 gold lead, and Wild Tortoise is starting to pull ahead of Messiah and farm. We've been talking about how good a farmer Messiah is. Wild Tortoise is ahead of him by 20.
It also has a little bit to do with Gragas. He just throws the barrel and gets almost all of them. The big thing that's allowed him to get ahead of Messiah is the ganks and the tower dive that Messiah did, because he lost a lot from that. Once they get the tower, though, Messiah's now stuck back a little bit. He's going to lose a few minion kills, and Loudamortis having the Oracles and Boots of Mobility, clearing wards, making Messiah not feel safe, and that's contributing to him losing the lane.
Yeah, Wild Tortoise doing a great job of containing Messiah. However, Kaume very much ahead. He's continuing to farm while he pushes Loudamortis off of that turret. He has 79 minion kills to Yorick's 37, so Kaume also free farming. We could potentially see that Aurelia Corki combination. Oh, and it looks like YJTM going in, trying to grab him. He does grab him, and there is WX. Is that an Oracles? Yes, it is. Great play by World Elite. Kaume getting a kill, getting potentially a little scary.
That was really good for World Elite. So now the gold is only 1,400, but with the Oracles lost, you can take that 400 into account and say they're only 1,000 back, despite being down in towers and down in kills. So as this game moves on, Demon Lull really needs to catch up to what WX is at, because that's where the majority of this gold differential is coming back in. Demon Lull just hasn't been able to farm on Ezreal 60 minion kills to 120 of Corki. And here we have World Elite grouping up mid, trying to take a tower. If they get this, the game is dead even.
World Elite certainly pushing that pressure, but oh, there's the ultimate from Wild Tortoise. Just a bit of a reset ultimate, but the power of that ultimate, even when it's, you know, he isn't able to get a kill, it's still so scary to watch, and you wonder what would happen if someone had been just a little bit lower when that Grog Assault had hit.
13-minute Rabadon's death cap, actually, so he's able to completely obliterate waves with those barrels. Just bloop, 6 CS, bloop, 6 CS over and over again. And, you know, still, World Elite right in this. I think the next big fight we're going to see is when the Dragon respawns. World Elite knows these timers very well, and they pride themselves on objective control. So now that they are back in the game, now that the gold is close, they're going to look to convert something at or near Dragon.
Yeah, it'll be great to see what World Elite is going to do, but when they're going to be able to make their move. Approaching the 14-minute mark, we see Cruiser trying to make up a little bit of that deficit between him and Aurelia. Aurelia's actually almost more than doubling his mini kills, and she has that kill. He does have that kill and assist. However, a little bit behind, he's opting for those gold per 10 items. He has the Heart of Gold and the Philosopher's Stone, but Team Legion still ahead, about 1,500 gold, 2 turrets to 1, 5 kills to 2. What do you think Legion is going to have to do to really crack this game open?
Right now, they have to win a fight at the next Dragon because that's where it's going to be forced. They're all down there collecting, and they're actually looking to get a quick jump on Nunu down in the bottom lane. The Dragon's up. They need to win this fight. They can win this fight if they land a good Sona ult, comboed with good Gragas stuff. If they duplicate Ezreal properly, they're going to win this. I wouldn't even be afraid if I was Legion to aggro the Dragon and force a fight, because that's what they need to do to stop, you know, WX from just getting too far ahead.
Yeah, Demon Lol actually getting a little bit brave. He is surrounded by 5 members of Team World Elite. They definitely want to go into this Dragon. It looks like they are going to start this Dragon up. Yes, they are. And Demon Lol a little bit out of position for this fight.
There's no way we don't see a fight out of this, or at least a big Dragon attempt steal.
Yeah, it looks like Legion forcing World Elite off of this fight. All of the ultimates are up. All of the summoner spells are up. Actually, Corki, his Ignite is about to come up. Great ward from Cruiser.
Well, actually, they're trying to push mid while World Elite's poking around Dragon. They're going to try to get as much tower damage down. Loudermore taking tower hits, though, and, you know, a little confusing.
It certainly is. However, Legion, known for their unorthodox playstyle, so there may be a method to their madness. Looks like World Elite's gonna start to pick up this Dragon without being contested at all. Oh no, there's the contest. Messiah and Kalme going in.
Nice.
That's a 3-man Dragon for World Elite.
So that was Legion trying to split off a little bit. Sona and Ezreal went back to farm / to buy and base, and the 2 or 3-man push mid was repelled by 2 members of World Elite, and the other 3 managed to take the Dragon. So a big win for World Elite there. They were down in gold, and they managed to pick up the Dragon, not lose a tower, despite being behind and probably at a disadvantage for that team fight.
Yeah, World Elite has done a fantastic job of chunking this gold lead down. We look up and we see 2,000 gold. We look up again, it's 1,500 gold. Now it's just about 1,000, a little less than 1,000. 800. It's ticking down as we're watching it.
What just happened? It just went down to like 600 immediately. They completely cleared the creep wave there, and you can just see all that farm going down on a Corki. He's going to be buying that Trinity Force pretty soon, and when he gets that, that's going to be a huge power spike for him to actually start showing his big advantage on Ezreal.
And if we look at the gold, Corki has about 5,000 gold to Ezreal's 4,300, so Corki's starting to really snowball ahead as we move into this late game, but Legion, not to be put off, are going to take this bottom turret and continue to try and hold on to what little lead they have left. Yeah, they're about 400 or 500 gold, and that is nothing compared to what they had before.
It's like
all credit to World
Elite.
Elite.
Comeback by World Elite. They haven't done anything flashy. They haven't done anything super sneaky, but they're just understanding how to get their gold and how to not fall behind. And nice dodge of the Grog Assault. They might lose tower, or they could force a team fight because the Grog Assault is down. Yeah, Legion's just going to back away.
That was a great bait by WX. Fantastic Valkyrie.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Wild Tortoise dropped that ultimate when he did, but all credit to World Elite. They are making a fantastic and well-measured comeback.
Just good stuff. You can see them warding a little bit around. They got the Oracles down on Loudermore, which is one of the big parts. They flashed in. They're going to get this gunner onto Wild Tortoise.
There's the stun and the suppress onto Wild Tortoise. The Ignite is down, and he is as well. Kalme able to take him out. Cruiser has the ultimate, and Messiah is just chunking him down. The slow going out. Great ultimate from Nubish to try and force World Elite off, and Loudermore going to try and go for the counter initiate. Ignite on Loudermore and Messiah. Messiah is dangerously low. Kalme is low as well, but Messiah healing off of the enemy team. Demon Lol cloned right now, and his clone is trying to chase down WX, but it looks like World Elite is going to back off. That was a great engage from World Elite.
Another thing I hadn't picked up on is York is only at 49 minions, Aurelia's at 133. So not only was their 2v1 lane winning, their 1v2 lane is winning comparatively. So that's really where all this extra gold is coming from. Despite being down in towers and 2-for-1 in dragons, down in kills, they're close to being up in gold. That's really impressive farm.
Looking a little bit further into that gold, Aurelia has 2 parts of her Triforce, and she is beating York by about 1,400 gold herself as Demon Lord tries to chunk down someone as they're being, but unfortunately, no dice. World Elite, a really impressive. I like the idea of the quiet comeback because we really didn't notice it snuck up on us, and before we knew it, Messiah was chasing people down, and that Q was hitting so hard.
They're just methodically farming, and Legion is not. Is pretty much what's happening. Legion spent so much time roaming around trying to pick off World Elite, and they were rewarded for it greatly early on in the game when they were getting the kills, but for the last 5 or 10 minutes, they've continued that roaming, and they haven't gotten any payoff, and because of that, World Elite's just getting a bunch of gold.
They aren't only doing that, they are invading and may be able to get a kill. Great ultimate from Gragas to
nice.
sort of offset that flash from IF. IF going for that stun. Great ward to be able to see the movement of Team Legion. World Elite resetting, meeting up with the rest of their team, and they could potentially take down this mid turret, no problem.
Yeah, and with this turret, if they're able to get it, no, there's a lot of defense here. We can potentially see something. They're gonna not quite get it.
And so much damage going out from Wild Tortoise. He did use that ultimate to sort of reset that fight and prevent any of his teammates from getting caught by that Taric. But even just those regular barrels are hitting so hard already. He does have that death cap, and he has a blasting wand now. In addition to those sorcerer's shoes, those are some scary, scary beer barrels.
Yeah, and with that tower, gold, dead even. So World Elite completed the comeback, so to speak, and they're now completely on even grounds. You know, 3-5, looking at it now, you say, oh, this has been a super, super close game, but that doesn't show how far behind they were early on.
Certainly, Legion really ahead early, and something we hadn't touched on is Messiah grabbed the Haunting Guy Sorcerer's Shoes combination that we've been talking about on Rumble, so that item combination, not just reserved for the Yordle in the mech suit, but also for, I believe it's the Blood Mage.
It's a very common situation on casters here, and it's going to work quite well against Legion, because if you go down the line of players on Legion right now, Sona no magic resist, Nunu no magic resist, Gragas no magic resist, Ezreal no magic resist, when you have 40 magic penetration from your items, and then probably about 10 from your runes and masteries, you're going to be hitting them for true damage. And Vladimir's base damages are actually quite high, so come these team fights, when he gets his ultimate down and he's amping that true damage on top of people, it's going to be pretty amazing for Messiah.
We've actually already seen Messiah chunking people out with that QE combo, and looks like World Elite is just trying to make sure that they have map control. It looks like they're roaming. YJTM has that Oracles. He's been taking out those wards. World Elite content to farm and continue to hold even.
This game has just gotten really tense in the last few minutes because Legion kind of realized when they had those close team fights that we're not ahead anymore and we're not really sure what we're going to do. The Dragon's about to respawn. World Elite got that one, and it looks like Legion might be conceding. They're going to have to because 2 of their members just went back to base. So World Elite now taking a quiet lead of the game, and I think Legion knows it.
Yeah, I believe that's the first time World Elite has taken the lead in this game, and they have really manufactured this comeback. They don't have that much of a gold lead, but I feel the next team fight is really going to show how powerful they are.
It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be all about the initiation. Gragas is very skill shot reliant and is very hit or miss in these team fights. If he lands a perfect ultimate that sends 2 members towards his team and 3 members away, they'll win the fight straight off. But if he throws out a barrel that either misses or knocks the wrong people in the wrong directions, they'll pretty much lose it right there. So I hate to put a lot of pressure on him, but Wild Tortoise needs to do well in the big team fight that is bound to happen sometime.
Well, Tortoise is certainly going to have to be a little bit wild with that ultimate. We saw him being just that reckless with Rise, going for the 1v5, so I have 100% faith in him. I would love to see a great Gragas ultimate to crack this fight open because we are dead even. Well, not quite dead even. World Elite has about 1,000 gold lead as we approach the 23-minute mark, but Legion looking to push down this middle inner turret.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that could end up starting a fight. Skarner might try to ult someone, even though he's very squishy and very low. That would start it right away. Or Sona or Gragas will land a good ultimate, but you can see the power of the poke there from Gragas. This is very tense moment for both teams because there has been so long without fighting that this next fight is going to be extremely impactful.
Looks like Team Legion really want to potentially force a fight under this turret. This turret is less than half health. I have no idea what's going to happen next, chat.
It's really just about sieging down and continuing the farm fest that they've created here. Corki up to 200 minion kills. Ezreal's starting to catch up because they both have a Trinity Force here, so they actually are on fairly even grounds from an AD carry perspective. The Vladimir has the needlessly large rod now and the magic penetration, so if this is an extended team fight, he's going to most likely take it over. It's all about Legion, if we ever get a team fight, pushing out for the kills versus World Elite trying to get the sustained long team fight or a good pick. And it's been so many Dragons, so many Barons, and so little actual fighting action that both of these teams are going to be getting a little antsy. I really wonder who's going to try to take the initiative for an engagement.
Yeah, it looks like Gragas actually picking up the Deathfire Grasp as well. So in addition to the initial burst, he's going to be able to have the follow-up burst of that activated item. He's at 236 minion kills, showing the power of the farm. And YJTM was able to pick off Noobish, and World Elite could potentially turn something from this.
Just caught him with a Skarner ult, did not even have to burn Flash, and now they're right onto Cruiser. He's got to get out of here. They're going to be able to catch down on him, and this is going to be bad for Cruiser. Yeah,
YGTM getting the slowdown. There's the stun. Cruiser cloning himself. Will they be able to drop him? Here comes Loudamortis to try and turn this around. Great ultimate. Cruiser is ulted, and then he's going to be able to turn the kill around onto IF, but there is Messiah with the ultimate. Cruiser is still cloned. Messiah going to be able to take out Wild Tortoise, and he is doing cleanup crew with WX, 3-for-1 exchange in favor of World Elite.
The first fight for a while, and it's all about picks and chasing. That was a 4v5. They thought they could bait them into the tower a little bit, and they tried to support Cruiser in there, but now all we have is Ezreal and Sona up. They are trying to 4-man this dragon. This game has Baron. This game has essentially skipped the early game because, sorry, the mid game because there's so much time farming. Now it's all about win a team fight, go for Baron, and can they get this one?
Looks like they're not going to be having much resistance. Noobish sitting around. He does have full vision. He could flash in. Oh, there's the ultimate, but World Elite will be able to pick up the Baron as well as the Sona, and then the Ezreal. That is a double kill for YJTM and a Baron for World Elite. Really, really bad news for Team Legion.
So close to trying to go in for that steal. I understand why he went in for the flash ult and trying to disrupt, but then Demonlo jumping in right after was just kind of, no, don't go in there. They already have the Baron. You have already lost. What
it's
are
like
you
watching
doing?
Those horror movies. Don't go! And then he completely gets destroyed.
Either way, World Elite jumping on top of that one small thing. They spent about 15 minutes just ramping up, slowly, methodically getting their gold advantage. Then they get the one kill, and they just pounce for the kill.
Yeah, but here comes Wild Tortoise catching IF out of position, and there's the burst from Gragas, using that Deathfire Grasp to get the killing blow. And even though World Elite is starting to pull ahead there at about a 5,000 gold lead at this point, we're approaching the 27-minute mark, Wild Tortoise could still land a clutch ultimate and crack a team fight open.
The bad thing here for Legion is that they still don't have magic resistance. And Messiah still has magic penetration, and now he has a Rabadon's death cap. So one ultimate, one pool, and E combo is going to be taking over half of everyone's health on Legion. They need to get an Aegis of the Legion, magic resist individually, or just something, because Vladimir is going to absolutely chunk them in these fights.
Vladimir has almost 377 AP. Gragas on the other end has about 425 AP. So both of these AP carries are hitting like extremely large, extremely fast-moving trucks.
They really are, but the big difference between this is look at World Elite. Look at how many Negatron cloaks they have. Look at how much magic resistance they've built. So Wild Tortoise can't instantly burst anyone on World Elite except for maybe Tarek, but they're okay with that because he's just support. He's not doing most of the damage. They're building smarter than Legion are right now, and that's probably the reason they might end up winning this game.
We'll have to see if that's going to factor into these fights, especially with those Negatron cloaks. And World Elite spot on with this Dragon Timer. They knew exactly when it was spawning. They were sitting, waiting for it, and it looks like they may be able to push this bottom tower out.
Just great objective control and a really, really methodical game. Every single dragon they have been there waiting to take if they've had the, men to not just lose a terrible fight. They got the Baron, and now they're not even really trying to force team fights with this Baron buff. They're just trying to get more of a gold advantage, because in their mind, more gold is just a victory. It doesn't matter how you get there.
Yeah, World Elite pushing into the LGN jungle. Cruiser and Nubish may have potentially seen the threat coming. It looks like Legion is going to loop around to try and defend this. World Elite is doing that 3-2 push, but here's YGTM and Messiah. A stun going out. I believe if they forced an Arcane Shift from Ezreal, World Elite going to just push down this bottom tower. We could see another. Wow, that Gragas barrel did not do that much to Messiah, so that magic resistance paying dividends already.
This is a bit of a siege here. Skarner does have his flash ult, so he might try to flash initiate on some important target if he sees opportunity. He's waiting in that brush. Grog is trying to scare him out with barrels. If anything happens out of this tower siege, it's going to be an initiate from Skarner.
And it looks like World Elite just trying to push out, but Wild Tortoise
there
for those barrels. There's the flash ultimate onto Wild Tortoise. He is dropping almost immediately. A great ultimate from Inubish. But Messiah is able to get his ultimate on almost everyone, and Kaume diving in, does not care. WX is on a killing spree. Demon Lol is... Wow, what an unbelievable play. Triple kill from WX, and that is going to be an ace for World Elite. In the middle of that fight, I was completely speechless. So well executed from World Elite.
It all starts with an essential 4v5 because the Skarner was perfectly able to get the most important target and damage source away from Legion. After that, it was just gravy. They went in for a full-on dive. Messiah took as much damage as he could before blood pooling out. Just extremely well executed, and this is the first inhibitor of the game coming down to 30 minutes. World Elite in commanding control.
30 minutes into the game, as you said, first inhibitor, 50,000 gold for World Elite. A mere shadow of what had happened. Legion was in control of this match from the start, but look at the lead that that World Elite has manufactured. 11,000 gold lead. They are terrifying at this point in the game, and such a great play by Messiah to tank so much of that damage, and then Kaume just dove in, put so much damage down, and WX cleanup crew with the triple kill. He's 5-0 now with the Triforce, with the Infinity Edge, Vampiric Scepter, and Pickaxe with the Negatron Cloak to help offset that burst.
And here's the really
what can Legion do at this
Here's
point?
the really unfortunate thing for Legion at this point is mid-game they were losing team fights because they did not have magic resist for Messiah. But late game, the most aggressive and threatening damage source is that AD carry. He's been free farming the entire game. 5-0-4 is WX on Corki. They need to get resistances for both of them, but they still need enough damage. There's the right people have the farm on World Elite, as Wild Tortoise can't quite catch out WX with his ultimate. The right people have farm on WX, and at this point, there's not much Legion can do to build against their diversified damage sources, and it's going to be trouble. World Elite, really smart, strong item choices.
World Elite able to build out that lead. That's actually the second time that WX has baited out that ultimate from Wild Tortoise, so he has become a pro at dodging those barrels with that Valkyrie, and he's going to use that Valkyrie to help take out this top turret. And this game at this point, with this kind of lead, World Elite is just going to try and put as much pressure as they can as that bottom lane with those super creeps just pushes and pushes and pushes.
I'm a little confused by Legion, actually, because last game they were all about getting the ore items. They were the first team to an Abyssal Scepter. They were the first team to an Aegis of the Legion. This game they don't really have the Aegis or Abyssal or any of these ore items except for the Frozen Heart on York, so it's really just World Elite with the edge in that regard. They have the Aegis, they have the Reveries, they're getting the engages they want, and it's just a change in style by Legion. They got that early advantage and just have not been able. They were never able to convert it, and now it's just completely World Elite's game to lose.
Well, they do actually have an aura item on you. I believe they have an Emblem of Valor, which is an interesting
Yeah, that's working
pick.
towards Zeke's, I suppose,
yes.
Right? Or no, the Emblem of Valor does not work towards Zeke's anymore. That's the old Stark's Fervor would have built out of an Emblem of Valor. That's just going for Locket of the Iron Solari, actually, if he wants to get it. And they're face-checking this brush. This could be real bad for Legion.
Australia's going down. Another great ultimate
They
onto
got
Wild
Tortoise
Tortoise.
again.
WX taking Wild Tortoise out. He is dominating, and there goes the clone of Wild Tortoise. The Shirelius popped to try and help the rest of Legion get out of there, but Calme is going to dive onto Laudamortis. They're going to try and push Calme out of there. He does have the Guardian Angel. Will they go for this dive? It looks like they're going to be doing it. The pool going out, and Calme taking that cue to dash in, and WX is godlike. Cruiser, however, able to take out Messiah. That's going to be a double kill for WX, and World Elite just pushing farther and farther and farther ahead.
That was a nice 3-for-1. Unfortunately, the turret barely latched onto Messiah. That was rather unfortunate. With that, though, they're probably pushing through for a second inhibitor here. York and Sona still back in base, trying to get their health back, and there is the surrender. 1-1. Let's see Game 3.
This Game 3 is going to be unbelievable. World Elite has adjusted, and they really snuck that victory in. Not just the lead, but also those fights. So